This is Yusuf on my channel, and I've been talking with many Christians who were Muslim and would just become Christian in the last few years. And I found myself laughing at a lot of things, and they'll laugh too, because about what we were taught and then what we discover later on. And one thing that was certainly shocking, and it was never mentioned at the masjid, because you go to Mecca and you're standing in front of the Kaaba that Muhammad stood in front of, that used to be filled with all these idols, and which Adam built, and then it was rebuilt by Abraham and Isaac. Or, sorry, Abraham and Ishmael. I think actually it is Abraham and Isaac. I don't know if Ishmael is mentioned. Going on anyways. Abraham and his son. I believe it's Ismail. Ismail, Ibrahim and Ismail. Ibrahim what? Ismail. But the Kaaba after Muhammad was destroyed multiple times. I made a video talking about the Karamatins, but we see that the Kaaba has been repaired and even reconstructed many times. The first one was a fight with the Umayyads, and it was Yazid ibn Muawiyah that destroyed the Kaaba in the year 64. This would be 683, AD 683. And then it was rebuilt and then again they were after it was rebuilt, they were still people were trying to catapult, using catapults against it to destroy it. And then again, after another huge civil war with Abu Malik ibn Marwan, when he finally reunited everything, he ended a long civil war, and the remnants of the reconstructed Kaaba by Zubair was destroyed and rebuilt from the foundations that were set by the Quraysh, and the Kaaba returned to a cube shape, which is very strange. And then we find in AD 93 the Karamatins attacked Mecca, defiled the well of Zamzam, destroyed, slaughtered the pilgrims. This is how they defiled it. Slaughtered the pilgrims, threw them down the well of Zamzam, all the time mocking God, destroyed the Kaaba, and stole the black stone and were using it as a toilet. Then apparently it was brought back, and the Kaaba was put back together, and it was not changed. This is the fourth time it's been rebuilt now, or the fifth, I guess, with Ibrahim rebuilding it. And then we have in 1829 a flood destroying the Kaaba, and it was rebuilt with granite stones and renovated. And the Kaaba hasn't changed since then. So you're going to something in the 17th century. People can talk about the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was destroyed by the Muslims and rebuilt by the Crusaders. Well, that is an older structure than the Kaaba that you go to today. And I think I might link this to New to Christ's video about more than one Kaaba, which we can see. And I have my own ideas about the origins of Islam and even the early Qibla, the early practice of actually depicting people, especially on coins. It's funny that if canonical Islam is correct, why do we see coins minted by Muslims with the menorah on it, or with a guy holding a cross, or Zoroastrian fire temples? This name Yazid, there's a group called the Yazidi, and if you know what I is, if you put I after something, it's belonging to or from that, so it could be rendered from Yazid instead of, you know, the Yazidis claiming this ancient heritage back to Adam, and everybody else is from Adam and Eve, but they're purely from Adam. From a child Adam created in a jar where Eve could only create insects, and then they're direct descendants of Adam, whereas the rest of mankind is from Adam and Eve. Since there was such a dark age at this point, I believe that Yazidis might be a very ancient form of this confederacy that we know makes up, that we come to be known as the Islamic conquest. I believe it was a confederation of Jews, heretical Christians, even maybe some Orthodox Christians from the Oriental churches, in different confederated groups conquering. It wasn't until 200 years after that the religion that we know as Islam even begins to form. This is only 200 and 300 years after the supposed establishment of Islam in the Islamic State in Medina, that we see these writings like the tafsir, the commentaries, or the sirah. And people talk about Ibn Ishaq. Well, Ibn Ishaq, I mentioned this many times, his writings were redacted, were redone over by Ibn Hisham, which gives us a later date. And there was Ibn Hisham, and there was another one that had, there were copies differed. I have the book that I have, earliest biography, which is this one, just simply the rendered, the life of Muhammad. It's actually Sirat Rasulullah, which is biography of the Prophet of God. Rough, direct translation in English. Biography, Prophet of God. It says Professor Gilliamay, I don't know how to say this, pronounce this word. I don't speak French, but translation of the Sirah of Ibn Ishaq is now reissued. The translator used Ibn Hisham's abridgment and also included many additions and variants found in the writings of early authors. The book thus presents in English practically all that is known about the life of the Prophet. In the introduction, the translator discusses the character of Sirah in the light of opinion of early Arabian scholars, noting especially the difficulties of poetry as the earliest monument to Arabian prose literature. The Sirah remains a work of first importance. That's correct. Now what do we find in this book? We find the Satanic Verses. So I believe it was a confederacy of of different peoples. And talking to a Christian, it's a very interesting idea that Abdullah was not was a title. It was not a name. It means the servant of God or the slave of God. And that was the first caliphate. There's some compromise made after the Second Civil War. And that Islam is actually a northern Arabian thing and on the southern Arabian thing. And that why put so much importance in Jerusalem. What about Mecca and Medina? And later those would rise to basically preeminence among Muslims. And as late as the 12th century, we have people quoting the Quran, which is vastly different from today, and you can find this in Ibn Waraq's Which Quran? This is what I wanted to say, since I got questions on the subject and people kept asking me from that specific video. So I don't know if I'll make it a response to the video that I have, or to New to Christ's video, which Kaaba. Alright, peace to you. May God save Serbia and Syria, and please pray for all those who suffer and are in pain. Take it easy. And it would still be cool to talk to a ninja. I say that with kind of a, well, take it easy. Ibrahim Wat Ismail. But the Kaaba after Muhammad was destroyed multiple times. I made a video talking about the Karamatans, but we see that the Kaaba has been repaired. This is Yusuf on my channel, and I've been talking with many Christians who were Muslim and would just become Christian in the last few years. And I find myself laughing at a lot of things, and they'll laugh too, because about what we were taught and then what we discover later on. And one thing that was certainly shocking, and it was never mentioned, the masjid, because you go to Mecca and you're standing in front of the Kaaba that Muhammad stood in front of, that used to be filled with all these idols, and which Adam built, and then it was rebuilt by Abraham and Isaac. Or, sorry, Abraham and Ishmael. I think actually it is Abraham and Isaac. I don't know if Ishmael is mentioned. Going on anyways. Abraham and his son. I believe it's Ismail. Ismail, Ibrahim and Ismail. Even reconstructed many times. The first one was a fight with the Umayyads, and it was Yazid ibn Muawiyah that destroyed the Kaaba in